When I was 5 years old, my parents brought home my little brother Joe. Well, he was perfect in all ways. He was tiny and had little old man wrinkles. Well, even his crown was magic to me. It was then that I knew that I wanted to be a father. I would help him change his diapers. I almost single-handedly potty trained him. Well, to be honest, I don't know if it was the fact that Joe was one of those good behaving babies or some genetic predisposition that drove me. All that I know is that my path towards fatherhood began there and led me to where I am today. Because even as a child, I knew that no matter what else happened in life, I was going to have kids and be the best father that I could be for them. From a very young age, we encourage our youth to plan out the trajectory for the rest of their lives. Age 18 frequently raises the question of where would you like to go to college, as you are expected to have a solid blueprint for your major, your future career, and anything else you would like to accomplish in the rest of your days. It is only human nature to wish for a beautiful life on paper, but how can we guarantee that everything will play out in our favor? In the end, we all have to be careful for what we wish for. Fatherhood by Stephen Mizell. Well, my sophomore year in college, I met Anna. Well, she was beautiful in all ways. She was a history major with a minor in economics. Well, she was brilliantly intelligent and stunningly good looking, which made me wonder why on earth she took a second to look at me. Well, I was prematurely bald and in general studies. She just came up to me in the cafeteria one day when I was sitting alone eating my bologna sandwich and chips. Well, she just plopped down the other side of that table like we'd been meeting that way for months. Do you have any extra mayonnaise? She asked, already reaching for one of my extra packets. That right there was how I met my future wife. Well, that fateful lunch turned into a relationship worthy of all the poets and epics that ever put pen to paper. Well, at least in my eyes. We continued to meet for lunch, and I always had an extra mayo packet, regardless of what we were eating. It was our little inside joke. When she asked me why I hadn't picked a definitive major, I was hesitant to tell her the real reason. You see, the real reason I hadn't was I was already planning on being a stay-at-home dad. Which then brings up the discussion of having kids, which is about as taboo to discuss as early on in a relationship as past relationships. However, I wanted to be honest with her, and I knew if I truly wanted to make this relationship last, it was going to come up eventually. So I explained to her, I'm honestly here to meet my future wife so we can have kids, and I can stay at home with them. The whole thing was so backwards from what was considered to be normal that she was just stunned into silence. Then a smile the size of her entire face appeared. So I'm gonna be the big money maker, eh? The one wearing the pants, bringing home the bacon, making that dough. Well, she took my hand and kissed it on the middle knuckle. I will never forget that light brushing of her lips, confirming our future. Then, 7 months after we first began trying, Anna was late. I tried so hard to contain my excitement, knowing that even the stress from the past few months to be the culprit. Then, after a week and nothing happened, I decided to crack open one of those manic pregnancy tests we bought in anticipation of that moment. The seconds felt like years as we waited for a red plus sign to appear. Then, slowly, a red cross faded into existence, and with it, the knowledge that we were going to have a baby. I began not to only read, but study the baby preparation books. I nearly destroyed my mother-in-law's baby name book, simply reading each entry with their last name and using them in sentences I assumed I would say. I say, you cut that out. How was school today, JJ? Your dress is beautiful, Aaron. As far as family is concerned, my parents had cut me out of their lives when I went to college, upset over my choice to pursue fatherhood over a career. Her parents, on the other hand, had already started to look into houses near ours. And his mother started planning the baby shower we thought a month before the due date would be safe. However, Anna's body just had different plans. Well, I must have been sleeping hard because she ended up hitting me in the dark to wake me up. I sat up with a start and just stared at her face in the dark. The street light shone through our windows, illuminating the tears that poured down her cheeks. I think I'm in labor, she said. The fear in her voice grabbed me even more than the words themselves. This was wrong. Everything about this was wrong, and she knew it. I jumped out of bed, grabbed my phone from the side table as I went. I had our OBGYN's office on speed dial, knowing there'd be a nurse on call at all times to field any questions, concerns. Like, what did you and your wife goes in labor at 32 weeks? Every bump, turn, and stoplight on the way to the hospital was torture. She was in agonizing pain, and our car was just a sealed box of hopeless fear. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. We were supposed to sit at home drinking coffee and counting through the contractions together. But there was no sipping coffee, counting contractions, or taking breaks in between. There was just pain, fear, and hopelessness. When we got to the hospital, I barely remembered to put the car in park before I was out and around. There was a pool of blood on the passenger's front leather seat, but I didn't allow myself to dwell on that fact as I dragged my awful pale-faced wife through those emergency room doors. We were swarmed by nurses from the second that we got through the entrance. Some of them firmly pulled her from me, placed her in a wheelchair, while others simultaneously asked me for information. Right then, I realized I left my wallet back out in the car. I'll be right back, honey. I just need to go grab my wallet. Within the time it took me to run to my car, get my wallet, and get back to the emergency room entrance, that our car into an operating room that I was not allowed into. Instead, I was instructed to the ER waiting room and shown to the coffee bar. I couldn't help but hate those poor nurses who showed me those things. Coffee? You think I want coffee while my wife and future child are literally fighting for their lives? What made matters even worse was that I desperately did. So there I was, sitting on a hard plastic chair, sipping from a styrofoam cup of terrible coffee, just waiting. Well, an hour or so later, I honestly couldn't tell you how long I sat there because it felt like years. The doctor came out and knelt in front of me. We lost your wife, was how he started. As if Anna was just a piece of jewelry they couldn't find. They'd lost her. The rest of the words became white noise to me, come through here and there like a bad radio connection. Words like hemorrhage and uncontrollable, and they came through the words cut through that static entirely. Baby has survived and is stable, but when he stayed in the NICU for a while. The baby! It's a girl, he said, and left me there as I just began to weep. Well, a while turned out to be 4 weeks. As far as premature babies go, Elizabeth was pretty healthy and well developed. To be honest, those 4 weeks were just a blur to me. It was surreal, the mix of joy and sorrow that everyone had. Anna's parents came up to meet their granddaughter, but also to bury their own daughter. Then it was just Elizabeth and I. The reason that Anna was gone. I tried so hard to separate the two. It was obviously not Elizabeth's fault that Anna had died. But if we not tried to have kids, Anna would still be alive, and those were just the facts. It didn't help that Elizabeth was constantly screaming at me. Nothing like the experience I had back at home with my baby brother. Over the next 3 weeks, I began to approach the end of my very short rope. Well, Elizabeth would scream, and I would scream right back. I began to shout unfair accusations right into her tiny, pitiful face. Her lack of understanding, the fact she refused to contest my horrific claims angered me even more. I could no longer take it. I couldn't remember the last time I slept for more than 30 minutes at a time. I simply needed sleep. Well, I thought it over and decided she'd be okay for one night on her own. She wouldn't starve, her diaper would be changed the moment I returned, and it was good to let a baby cry out, right? So I fed her, I changed her, and I swaddled her. I placed her back to her crib, and I left her, along with my phone, knowing the only way to get some real rest was to make sure there were no distractions. And then checked into a motel a few blocks down for the night. It was 4 weeks later when someone began pounding on my motel door. I calmly got out of bed, opened my front door, and right then I was very forcibly handcuffed. I can only imagine these cops were the same ones that found Elizabeth. They nearly ripped my shoulder out of its sock as they dragged me towards the cruiser. But I didn't protest. I didn't put up a fight. Because after all, I was guilty. Guilty of thinking I was meant to be a father, but guiltier of being completely wrong. Thank you.